Action Comics 1014. Brian Michael Bendis writing with Zyman Kudransky on the art. So the big plot of this one is that Leon, Miss Leon, who owns the Daily Planet, the villain who's the head of the, who never speaks about Superman, so she'll never be caught, actually comes to the Daily Planet, and Perry gets to meet her for the first time. And I actually really like the art here because like Perry's just coming from the outside and it's raining, and he's got like a bonnet on. And there's like water dripping down it. It's very very atmospheric. So she's like, "Hey, I'm here to see you for the first time," and he's very kind of like, "Okay, it's weird. I've not seen you before, but blah 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 blah." And she's basically like, "Hey, I don't want to do any more gossip stuff. I want this paper to be like cutting edge of journalism, and what's that going to take to make that happen? Like, how much money do you need? I want Lois Lane back in her desk. I want her publishing things as often as possible. I want this to be the cutting edge of journalism." And it's a very interesting thing coming from her, and like, assuming this is not just purely for profit, like what exactly is her agenda here for wanting Daily Planet to be this bastion of journalism? Very curious. But yeah, so Perry kind of falls in love essentially because she's basically offering a blank check to like pay the reporters more and get more staff and all the rest of it. It actually, when she says she wants Lois back at her desk, the close-ups in this page are just of her eyes and then Perry's mouth, and Perry just has this smirk on his face when she says that. It's like he's bonding with her on like a really personal level. Meanwhile, Superman's fighting a giant monster that's came through like a rift at Star Labs, and he uncovers that the Star Labs people are doing illegal experiments. But the main thing here that he discovers, and he turns them in for that because he uses his X-ray vision to discover that. But the main thing here is that all of the teleportation from Leviathan is actually creating some temporal problems, and that's where this monster came from. So it's kind of a small beat in that plot. That's kind of neat. The book does have like a news article by Kent, like explaining this, like what Star Labs were doing. It's in the middle of the book. I'm not a big fan typically of having like like a block of text like this, in the middle of a comic. It kind of derails the pacing. It's not super dense though, for because there's been some of these in the past where I'll be reading a comic and you'll get like a 2-column like thick block of text. It usually kills the pacing. This one's not too bad, admittedly, but it does usually kill the pacing for me. But yeah, so that's a very Daily Planet focused issue because we're back on the planet. Clark's just finished up his story. Perry's like congratulating him on a good bit of work. He's like, "No, you have to come and meet someone." And so Clark meets Leon, which is a very interesting concept because obviously she's been trying to hide from Superman, and now she's like in a room with him, not knowing it, but like she's in a room with Superman, and she asks like what he's, what he thinks his time is worth as a reporter, and she's basically saying, do you want a raise so you can do better work? But he's very kind of apprehensive of her. And there's a little joke here where he's like, "Where did you come from, Mr. Leon?" And Perry's like, "I think heaven," because Perry's just like, for the first time in his career, he's not been told to like make cutbacks and whatnot. He's like, "Oh no, she's just going to like open the floodgates." Thorn goes to the criminal bar where the secret mafia are and actually ends up like stabbing one of them repeatedly. Doesn't kill him because Red Mist shows up. Or sorry, not Red Mist, Red Cloud. Forgive me. Do you know what? There's a lot of names to keep track of in comic books, and I feel like they're...
Honestly, I find it. There are people at work whose names I still don't know. I've after months, I'm like, no, too many names of comics characters filling up all that space.
Oh dear. Yeah. So Red Cloud kind of realizes who she is and is like, yeah. So it becomes this big fight, and and I don't think we're done with Rose and Thorn. I'm sure she's still alive, but she's being clouded essentially. Like, the red mist is in her mouth and stuff. But the final line of this page is one of the guys being like, "There goes the invisible part of the invisible mafia." Shit kind of thing. So not a big scene in of itself, this issue, but I think it's going to be a big deal like going forward because it means that maybe this will reach some authorities. This will reach the newspapers, and all of a sudden it's not so secret anymore. Clark goes to see Lois, explains that this new boss wants her back, and she's going to pay for it handsomely. and she's like, but you really like sort of demanded to know where she came from. You got that accusatory. Just almost surprised at him a little bit. But no, so one of the things I love about Action recently is because it's been so focused on the Daily Planet stuff. It doesn't have the tone of Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman, but it has kind of that focus that show had that I really like, where it really kind of frames it mostly around the Daily Planet stuff, and I think it's great. I think it's great. The book ends. Lois basically sees that there's some being with light around them, like flying through the sky of Metropolis. So Superman, of course, flies off to see who it is because it's not John or anyone else they're expecting. And whoever this is, like, hits the top of the Daily Planet building. He goes over, and the final page, it's Naomi. Naomi has entered Action Comics. And she's like, Superman, I'm Naomi, I need your help. And that's where we wrap up the story for this one. And it says, next time Superman and Batman team up to help Naomi. So, Bendis having fun tying all of these different things together, which is cool. The art in this is typically very good. There's, one or two little quibbles here or there. Like for when Superman lands in the at Lois's hotel, Lois's face looks a little bit, I don't know, just puffier than usual, I guess, is how I'd describe it. Which, I mean, it doesn't look unnatural. It wouldn't be a problem if this is just not how Lois normally didn't look, if that makes sense. It's just different from what she normally looks like. But otherwise, really good stuff. Like I said, I love the atmosphere early on in the book, with the sort of rainy night. The idea that this villain, and no one knows that she's a villain yet, even if Clark has his his doubts. It sets the mood in the atmosphere of this meeting finally happening, and makes it feel like a big deal, which is the main plot point of the issue is that stuff. And I've been digging the introduction of that character, and her getting more involved in the plot is really cool. So. And I'm excited for Naomi. So, this was a really solid issue of Action. I will give this. I will give it. I'll give it a 9. I really liked it. Action's great.